What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, and this is it. This is the end of the road for the offensive coordinator resume series, unless the Seahawks give me a reason to make another one, because we've gone through pretty much every candidate that I think is even a little bit interesting. We've even done a couple of candidates that I don't think are interesting, and at a certain point, you just have to go, look, we've already probably covered more ground than we needed to. So if the Seahawks want to wait for their offensive coordinator hire until after the NFC title game or even after the Super Bowl, or, well, not NFC title game, but conference championship game weekend, then good for them. But at a certain point, we got to start talking about things that are a little bit more intriguing as we push forward into the offseason. And me combing through every single coaching staff in the NFL and college football and the CFL and the XFL and the European Football League, at a certain point, it's like, okay, come on. So, unless the Seahawks interview or express some degree of interest in a candidate that I haven't made a video about yet, this is going to be the last resume video. Obviously, it's not the end of the conversation because we haven't hired anybody yet. Once we hire somebody, I'll have plenty to say about whoever it is. But in terms of these videos, this is the end of the line. So real quick before we get started, and by the way, this is a double header. We're talking about two candidates in this video. Please like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. And also remember, I am doing my Bleacher Report stream tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific. We're going to talk about this offensive coordinator stuff. We're going to talk about some roster moves. We're going to talk about the impending offseason. We're going to talk about maybe these conference championship games coming up. So tune in. If you're not already on Bleacher Report, download the app, make an account, and keep an eye out for a link to the show to be dropping in the near future if it's not already up. Check the community tab. It may already be there. If not, it will be there soon. I'll be posting it again right about the time the show goes live. So, yeah, get on Bleacher Report. It's the only place you're going to be able to watch those streams I do every week. And those streams are going to contain a lot of stuff that I maybe don't talk about very much in the videos. It's also an opportunity to interact with me a little bit and discuss your feelings about how things are going. Okay. So, we're going to do two candidates in this video because both candidates have resumes that are so short, I can't make a whole video about them. And they're also really kind of similar. You've got two offensive coordinator candidates here. They've both only been coaching for a few years. They've both only been quarterback coaches. They've both been successful quarterback coaches, coaching in NFC title games and even a Super Bowl. They've both played a lot of quarterback in the NFL in their past. Now, one guy was a lot better than the other guy, but both guys were experienced, established quarterbacks in the NFL before they became coaches. And it kind of feels like both guys are in the same part of this conversation. Neither guy's called plays before. Both guys would be a risk. And their stars are on the rise, but I don't know if I want to be the team to give them the opportunity to prove that they can make that leap. So let's start with the first guy, Brian Griese. Brian Griese, 49 years old. If you are old enough to, if you're old enough to remember him playing, then you're probably about my age, maybe a little bit younger. But he was a bit of a journeyman, kind of a backup most of his career. He did start occasionally. I remember he started for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a while. He started for the Bears for a little bit. I think he was on the Broncos team that won the Super Bowl as a backup to John Elway. So he's been around, and he's another one of these guys where if you want to give him your OC and your play calling spot, you're going to have to cross your fingers that he picked up a lot from his playing career to mitigate the fact that his coaching career has only been 3 years so far. He has 3 years of coaching experience, all with the San Francisco 49ers, all as a quarterback coach, which does mean he deserves a lot of credit for Brock Purdy being what he has been so far in this league. And I know Brock Purdy, I know we all move forward with the assumption that, oh, Brock Purdy's a really good quarterback, but Mr. Irrelevant doesn't become a quality, dare I say, franchise level quarterback. Maybe he's not an elite franchise guy, but he's at least as good as a guy like Tua, and Tua's been deemed a franchise quarterback, so Brock Purdy's at least that good, I think. So therefore, I think that you would say that, and you don't become a franchise quarterback by accident when you're Mr. Irrelevant. Somebody's doing something right. And look, part of it is Kyle Shanahan, but Brian Griese deserves credit here. He's been the quarterback coach for the entire time that Purdy's been in San Fran. And you look at what Purdy's done over the last 3 years, it's really good. He's shown improvement. I know there was some regression in the second half of 2024, but overall, great job. I mean, in the first half of 2024, Brock Purdy was flashing some real, I don't want to say elite ability, but some great ability, like beyond what I was expecting from him from 2023 or 2022. Now, things tailed off at the end of the year. He missed a game. He got injured and was playing injured in some other games. At the end of the season, he had not even 3,900 yards, but he added a second dimension as a runner. He had over 320 rushing yards. That is something that he didn't have earlier in his career, so he was able to add value there. 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, not great, right? We're not thrilled about that, but remember, he started out good and then faded as the season went on, and quite honestly, you look at that Niners situation, it kind of got away from him, right? I know it's weird to give a quarterback excuses when he's playing with the Niners, and don't get me wrong, I'm not huge over the top on Brock Purdy, but Debo was washed up. Ayuk barely played. Ricky Pearsall had a basically a wash rookie year because he got shot. So for him to be able to complete 66% of his passes working with Jawan Jennings, George Kittle, and not a heck much beyond that, not even Christian McCaffrey, is still good. 96 QB rating, kept that Niners team above the sea level for a little bit this year. Of course, the numbers are better in 2023, but I don't know if he was a better player in 2023. 4,300 passing yards, 150 rushing, 31 touchdowns, 11 picks, almost a 70% completion, 113 QB rating. I mean, it's good stuff, and you look at where he started as a rookie in 2022, you can see the development, you can see the growth, and he's genuinely become somebody who might get a $60 million a year contract this offseason. Like, that is a realistic possibility, and there's a lot of reasons why, but Brian Griese's one of them. And by the way, while we're here, Jimmy Garoppolo actually was playing quite well that first year that Griese was there. Before he got hurt, 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks, 67% completion, and that's notable because Jimmy Garoppolo's numbers and overall play was not nearly this good before, with the previous quarterback coach who I believe went to Kentucky after 2021. I can't remember his name, but the previous quarterback coach was known to be somebody who wasn't working with Jimmy quite as well. And when Brian Griese got in there, Garoppolo was putting up good numbers again. Now, he still wasn't a great player, but it felt like there was a little bit more synergy between Garoppolo and the offense he was running. And I think Griese does deserve credit for that because it wasn't the case the previous year when Garoppolo's numbers were not as good. So it's pretty good. Mark Brunell, if we're jumping over to him, he's a little bit older, 54, longtime NFL player, but unlike Griese, Brunell was actually a starting quarterback and for a short period of time was basically a franchise quarterback. When he was in Jacksonville, he made 3 Pro Bowls. He led the Jacksonville Jaguars to the AFC title game in a 14-win season. He was great. He had a great career in the NFL. He never became like a Hall of Famer, but he was very good. And he helped a lot of Jacksonville teams that otherwise wouldn't have been that good get to heights that you wouldn't have expected from them. After retiring, by the way, he won a Super Bowl ring as a backup with the Saints, which I had forgotten about. He didn't get into coaching immediately. I think he was coaching at a high school for a little bit, but the only thing we're going to really look at here would be his experience as a quarterback coach. Only been with one team, again, very similar to Griese. Detroit Lions. So the Detroit Lions had him as their quarterback coach basically ever since they traded Stafford for Jared Goff. So 2021 to 2024. And I mean, the last 3 years speak for themselves. Goff has been great. Goff has been putting up big numbers. Goff has been playing legitimately good football. Obviously, I think a lot of the credit goes to the offensive line. I think a lot of credit goes to the Ben Johnson. I think a lot of credit goes to the system in general. They've got good receivers. They've had a great tight end in Laporta. The running game's been dominant. So I don't think Jared Goff is some great quarterback. I don't even know if I'm not convinced that I think Jared Goff is a top 12 quarterback in this league in terms of ability, but in terms of production, he's been one of the 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the league over the last 3 years. And the Lions have been a great team. They've had a 15-win season. They've had an NFC title game run. They almost made the playoffs in 2022. And I mean, what else can you say about the way Goff has played? It's significantly better than he looked for most of his Rams tenure. And he made the Super Bowl with the Rams, and he was being coached by Sean McVay with the Rams. Think about that. So give it up to Ben Johnson, give it up to Dan Campbell, give it up to the other personnel on that team. But Mark Brunell is doing something right here as the quarterback coach. Over the last 3 seasons, Jared Goff has, 13,500 passing yards approximately. He's got almost 100 touchdowns. He's got 30 interceptions approximately, completing 68% of his passes. QB rating has been over 100 if you take the average of the 3 years. He's been putting it up. And again, I'm not saying he's a great quarterback, but if anything, the fact that this not great quarterback is putting up great numbers is a feather in the cap for Mark Brunell's work as a quarterback coach. 2021, Goff wasn't terrible either. I mean, Goff is a decent quarterback, right? He was pretty good in LA, but in 2021, Goff's performance was more in line with what he did near the end in LA that convinced the Rams to move off of him. 3,200 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks, 67% completion. It's still good. Goff missed a few games that year. Tim Boyle played for him for a few games. Over 500 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 picks. I mean, it's Tim Boyle. I'm not going to read into that, but it's not very good. Doesn't really matter. It was like 2 or 3 games. So, hey, I'm impressed. Doesn't necessarily mean I want to give him play calling duties. Doesn't necessarily mean I want to be that team that elevates him to that point. But it's a good piece of your resume for sure. So both these guys, to me, in a similar position, former NFL quarterbacks who took a long break from football. I think Griese was working as a commentator on ESPN. I don't know what Brunell was doing, but they got into coaching and they've done really good things as quarterback coaches. But I'm not sure it's enough. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Unless we interview somebody that is completely out of left field that I somehow let slip through my radar, this is going to be the end of this series. And the next time I talk about this offensive coordinator thing, it will be because we either interviewed somebody or we hired somebody. But let me know what you think about these two. It's interesting, right? Mark Brunell, former Washington Husky. I can think of a decent chunk of this fan base that would be excited to get Mark Brunell for no other reason than that. And you don't need a better reason than that, right? It's Mark Brunell, one of the great Washington Husky quarterbacks. All right. Go Hawks. Everybody have a good day. And check me out on Bleacher Report tonight at 6. Download the app, people.